we're back once again with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. Gotta love technology. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here for the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Lakers Fast Break. Hoping you will like, share, and subscribe. Plus, also as well, big shout out to all of our individuals that listen to us on our podcast feeds, YouTube, Facebook, or listen to us on many of the radio stations around the world that still have us on their stations over the years. Now it's been 9 years now since we've almost 9 years
a very
that
long
we've been
time.
on. Yep, very long time indeed. I just want to tell you what, though, I am truly blessed and truly thankful for everyone that gets a chance to check us out right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. It is the mastermind behind Mannequin Media, The Happy Hoarder, and so much more. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man? Again.
What's up? What's going on? Yeah, I mean we're in and out, man. The old internet didn't want to hear our voices, so it kicked us off. But
Yes.
I'm good, man. How you doing?
All right, but you were talking about the Pokemon and the craze about how you were going to all the different department stores that you were used to going to, and them not having anymore, them not caring more because whatever, it's not worth the money, it's not worth the time, it's not worth the profit that they supposedly make, even though Pokemon is a huge industry. I mean, I see all these videos talking with resellers talking about how much money and profit they're making in there. You, as a reseller, knows how much the cut line is, but yet some of these retailers just don't want to go ahead and put up the headaches now in being a Pokemon collectible destination.
Yeah, because things are getting broken. It's so for Target specifically. Their corporate office is leaving it up to the managers of the stores whether or not they want to deal with like the police reports and all that, because the police have been at these stores in the morning, like 2 or 3 times a week, because people are breaking shelves, breaking displays, they're fighting in the store, like there's blood on the ground, like it's absolute chaos. Like this is all grown adults buying Pokemon cards, right? So that they can go home and resell them. Like the scalpers market is insane right now. So let me tell you, it's not just Pokemon though. It's all across the board. It's One Piece cards. It's Dragon Ball Super cards. It's Bandai Union Arena. It's literally everything. Like One Piece has gotten hit almost as bad as Pokemon. So ever since it's been discovered, right, that the PSA grading system, double, quadruple, whatever the value of a card. So for example, you look at a common like a common oddish, right, in Pokemon that would be worth fresh out of the pack, assuming it's nothing's wrong with it, it's got a solid 10, it'd be worth about $1.25. You get that graded, that card now becomes worth about $35. So now you have all these people, these resellers are buying these packs, and they're getting every single card graded, and then they're selling them for, however many times it's worth.
I'm going to give you a story here. The Lakers, I cover the Lakers for the Lakers Fast Break.
Yeah.
Before they left out on the road trip, one of their last home games was a One Piece night dedicated to One Piece, the series. Funniest because everybody that was watching the game with me in our audience that I have over on playback from all around the world, what the hell are they doing? What's with this hat thing? I'm like having to explain One Piece to them. Lo and behold, you can go on eBay right now, Josh, and just type in One Piece Lakers shirt, because everybody there that went had either a poster that they got or a Lakers black T-shirt with One Piece on it, with the One Piece guy slamming the basketball with the hat and all that. People are trying to sell it for $150, $200 for a free shirt they got at a basketball game.
Yep. That's how it goes, man. It's crazy.
But it is crazy, my friend. But what is even crazier is that I got an email this morning, and I should forward it over to you, being the guy that I am. and let you know that we have gotten into the mix with FeedSpot. I know I'm one of the most popular Lakers shows on FeedSpot, which we're very thankful for. But I got a note from FeedSpot earlier today.
Okay.
Letting me know we're one of the top 90 pop culture podcasts that's out there.
The Lakers Fast Break or the Pop Culture Cosmos?
Culture Cosmos, one of the top 90 pop culture podcasts on the internet.
Okay. Talk to me like I'm an idiot and I don't know what FeedSpot is. What is FeedSpot?
FeedSpot is, I guess, best way to describe FeedSpot is I guess, an RSS feed, blog speed. It gathers up a whole bunch of information as far as to get, whether it's YouTube channels, podcasts, magazines, news websites. I'm reading off their site info right now. It basically brings that all together to give you an idea as far as, let's say you want to know what the best or ideas are for a news podcast. So you type in news podcast for FeedSpot, and they give you the best suggestions that come up, whether based on popularity or by choice, critical acclaim, etc., etc., etc. So
Okay.
they, in their infinite wisdom, if you type in pop culture podcasts, in the top 90 is us.
That's pretty impressive, man.
All these. Only question I have: why didn't they go to 100? Did they just kind of slack off? And
It
I don't
must
know.
be. It
Yeah.
must be.
Like when
I
we did our top 100, when we were doing our top 100 as far as movies and all that, we got, like, when we had the list everybody made up together, we had everybody put together their lists of their top films, and we were like putting them in, and got to about 60 or 70 or not, and kind of ran out of steam. I still got them there, the drafts up at our popculturecosmos.wordpress.com site. So gotta
Hey, we're
finish that
impressed,
one
man.
day.
We are riveting entertainment. All right. It's no
Okay.
wonder we crawled to the top 90 spots on FeedSpot. Okay.
I'm just
I
curious
I
why
ex-
they didn't do the extra 10 for 100. Seems like
I
a better round number, but okay.
mean, I
Okay.
accept this. I accept the award on behalf of both of us.
Okay. I accept it too. I think it's really cool. Thank you to FeedSpot for doing it.
Yeah.
Just kind of strange, but all right. But yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, check out FeedSpot, their pop culture podcast, their top ones. We're in the top 90, and we're very thankful and blessed right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But we got a lot of stuff to catch up on today. Melinda, I know, couldn't record with me on Friday, so we wanted to go ahead and catch up with you on some thoughts on some of the stuff going around in the world of pop culture. Plus, Josh has some thoughts. He's caught up with Daredevil. He's caught up with Gundam. So he's going to go ahead and share that with you on today's episode as well. But I wanted to, as per request, we did have a request from our viewers out there to ask, and finally a little bit of a topper on the Oscars. Your thoughts on that? I know that some people are still reeling as far as Emilia Perez, critics or not, because critics actually thought it was okay for the most part, but didn't think it was going to be the favorite, and it became the favorite. Then, because of the controversies, did not become the favorite, and it lost out to Anora. A lot of people are out there saying, Anora, who watched this film, how did it become the best film out there when it's really not that popular of a film? It's a smaller film. How's it going to be able to achieve that status? But it did. Of course, Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Mickey Madison for Anora, or the top best actor, best actress. Still kind of bummed Demi Moore didn't get it for The Substance, and Dune 2 for Best Picture. But your thoughts on the Oscars? Of course, Kieran Culkin. That was the one. Nobody was going to bet against Kieran Culkin here in Vegas. I can tell you right now, that was the easiest money you can make, but that was the biggest favorite there was for Oscar night.
Okay, I'm going to be 100% transparent with you. The only movies on this list that I've heard of are The Wild Robot and Wicked and Dune Part 2. None of these movies. Okay, but I've read a lot about you know some of these.
But the
So
Wild Robot lost as well for best animated film to Flow.
yeah, okay, but let me ask you this: why is it that none of us know what in the world any of these movies are, or that they even exist until like a week before the Oscars happen? Like, are at that point, does that really make them good movies if they have not marketed, if they don't go out of their way to market them to average people? What does that say about the Oscars as an award show?
I I agree with you. That's part of the reason why their numbers over the course of what they did earlier in the last decade are considerably down. But uh, I guess with the who added Hulu bump up, they've got close to 20 million viewers once again. But you're like you said, the familiarity. We're going to talk about familiarity with the movie here in a little bit when it comes to this weekend's box office. But I agree with you. I mean, uh, I'm assuming the voters get the DVD still with all the movies out there as
Just
far as the
pre
Blu-ray. They get to go ahead,
right? Yeah.
yeah, the screeners and whatnot, so they get a chance to vote. But you're right, for Nora, a small film that is made less than what $50 million possibly or $100 million worldwide at the box office.
Yeah.
You know, how do people know about this? How do people know about this film? Um, Everything Everywhere All at Once was a small film that caught fire, that actually did pretty good, actually gained a profit at the box office, and it became the success that it was, and it won all the awards, and that it did great job. And Anora,
Because they advertised it. They advertised it
yeah,
on social media, even just on the internet though. Like, and because it had what's the main actor's name? I can't ever pronounce his name.
Ki Hek Won.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Michelle
we won't
Yao.
talk about his last movie though. That didn't kind of do so well.
People
Yeah.
that his last movie kind of reminded me of that Jackie Chan movie, the Nickelodeon
Mm-hmm.
one where he's like the spy. You remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anyways, but yeah, that movie was made for people, right? This movie, a lot of the movies on the Oscars, it seems like, are made for people who are like, oh yeah, the ones that hold their pinkies out and drink a glass of
Yeah.
wine every night while watching whatever it
I
is they
mean,
like to watch.
it is a Vegas film. I knew about it because it has tie-ins to Vegas, and as far as it's like a modernization of the Pretty Woman concept,
Hmm.
except this time it involves a kid that's related to the Russian mafia, but it does it does the Mickey Madison or the character Mikey Madison character who won lady who won Best Actress. Her character is a young lady who is as a paid escort, and then they just fell in love and things of that nature. And one of those things that happens here in Vegas. I can tell you for a fact something like that happens here in Vegas, where or has happened here in Vegas. Those type of things, but yeah, it just. I mean, the movie's extremely profitable. It was made for less than $10 million and has made about $40 to $45 million worldwide at the box office. So it is a profitable film. I'm not questioning that. It's just that even at a $45 million film, the like you said, the masses don't know what Anora is.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for a lot of people to get behind some of these films, even The Substance, which I've been championing a lot as far as really being a great example of body horror films with Demi Moore giving a excellent performance. That film also tallied under, I think, worldwide $100 million as well. So again, and the Brutalist under $100 million. The Conclave, I don't think made $100 million. It might have, but again, all these smaller films, art house films, as they once used to call them, those are the ones. Yeah, they're always up for the picture. But a film like Dune Part Two that came out in March of last year really is going to get, the best it could do was get a nomination, but it's really never going to be put in that level simply because it didn't come out at the right time or didn't get shown to the right people in the right places, etc., etc. These
Yeah.
big blockbuster films often have a harder job to do. Oppenheimer was obviously the I guess the movie that did actually make a huge impression at the Oscar Awards and also at the box office, almost earning $1 billion here. But it's just art house movies always have this unique advantage when it comes to these Oscar awards. It just seems like they're always, okay, we're going to smaller film. We're not going to reach a larger audience, Josh, but gosh darn it, we're going to go ahead. We're a good film. We're going to go ahead and market ourselves to the in crowd, the Oscar crowd
Right.
instead.
Yeah. Yeah, and on a plus note for some of the actors in them, it is a chance for a lot of the fading actors of yesteryear to get their to kind of get themselves back in the spotlight and land.
Or up and coming, like Mikey
Right.
Madison.
Yeah, yeah. But so okay, so it's funny. Let me recap sort of a review I was reading of The Brutalist. That is a guy who said uh was talking about how the Oscars are so far removed from the lives of the common people. And he goes, I sat there and watched The Brutalist, and he goes, this movie had its head so far up its backside that I literally lost 3 hours of my life watching a movie that I will never understand. And he goes, I don't even think the person that made this understood exactly what he was making. And I sat there and I
Well,
was thinking to myself, like, that's sort of like how that's sort of what the Oscars has become, though. It's he's not the first person to say something like that about any of the movies that have ever been nominated.
and I don't mind art house movies that have a smaller following getting that opportunity if they are the best films of the year. They should always deserve that right.
Yeah,
Let's be that as it may. But it just seems like it's always cornered in more recent years, that almost always cornering itself towards those art house films as opposed to bigger budget films, which may be of the same quality, but
yeah,
the way it's perceived by an Oscar audience may be different than the way you and I perceive good films to be. But again,
yeah,
Anora, definitely qualifies as one of the best films of the year, and obviously getting the Oscar is justified. It's just the fact it has not translated to a larger audience, and so a larger audience doesn't understand or doesn't know about Honora, which like you and I are just like, okay, what is this film all about? For
yeah,
Adrian Brody, we talked about this. I think you and I talked about Adrian Brody last week in regards to the fact that he won so long ago for The Pianist, 20 some odd years ago for The
yeah,
Pianist. And then he got to a point where he was just living off of that Academy Award win. Like the 20 teens, he had, become a caricature of himself. He was getting almost any role he could. And it was always billing him as, whether he was a starring individual or a supporting character, as Academy Award winner Adrian Brody. And it was kind of like,
yeah,
it was almost like the saying, maybe we should not have given that award. When you're appearing in like Predators and you're doing a whole bunch of stuff, maybe it looks like you're just cashing a paycheck and things of that nature. It's just like, maybe they should not have given him award. Well, lo and behold, 20 years later, he proves to everyone out there. Although I think he did a damn good job in Winning Time on HBO. I think he did a really damn good job there. But I will say this again: he has a nice comeback, like Demi Moore. You were talking about the aging actors, maybe not in favor anymore in mainstream films. He has put him back himself in the limelight with this performance in The Brutalist, and so has Demi Moore as well.
yeah, yeah. And I've again, I haven't seen any of these movies. I've heard good things about a lot of them. So uh not sorry, not haven't heard good things. I've heard the good things about the ones that you've talked about, right? So
Mhm.
I maybe I just need to sit down and try to watch some of these ones. But the one with Demi Moore definitely looked the most intriguing of all the ones that were nominated.
Don't show the kids on that one. I'll just say that. Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah. So sometimes I like to invite like my pastor over and we watch things
Yeah.
like that. I
There you
just
go. Absolutely. And just the part where, Margaret Qualley, just like pops out and, the Demi Moore splits like that, and yeah.
yeah,
Oh, hey, what's going on? Oh, enjoying the film. But I will say again, it is always appreciated when we get the chance to go ahead and talk about the best films of the year. And of course, what goes on with the Oscar. I'd just like to see it, maybe these Oscar films like Honora, really get love from the general audiences and get pushed by a studio or even the independent studio,
Yeah.
in that realm that the masses are able to see it. So at least it, when it's in its heyday at the box office, instead of waiting for that possible day on Netflix, uh, you know, months or years down the line. But if you have thoughts on the Oscars, we'd love to hear it. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com, which leads me into my discussion for this week's box office. I know a movie that you and I had talked about some years back, but probably will be considered when all is said and done by historians or film historians as one of the best movies of its time in that time frame. Parasite. You're
Okay.
familiar with Parasite because
I yes. Oh, nice.
that won Best Picture, and it was a movie that did not, was not a huge at the time box office here in the States, although it did do eventually really well, garnering over $262 million as a low budget film, or lower budget film, I should say, and huge in South Korea, of course, because the director himself, Bong Joon-ho, is from South Korea. But the thing is, we've seen this before, Josh. You and I covering the entertainment world, we've seen this before where a filmmaker has a small film, has financial or not financial success, has critical success, and they really benefit from it. But then they have this huge success critically or even financially to an extent, and they're thought up in that realm as far as, okay, if they can do this on a smaller budget, $20 million or under film, what would happen if we give them a larger budget? Or what would happen if we ask them what is their dream project to work on? Or what if we give them like a Marvel film or something? Chloe Zhao, remember, if you remember the Eternals,
Yeah.
that was, I think, the movie after she had her Academy Award winning movie, because that was a smaller film that she made. She was asked to do a Marvel movie after that. Look what happened there. Well, Bong Joon-ho, his next movie that he made, in fact, it actually was finished like 2 years ago, according to reports. Warner Brothers didn't release it until now, was Mickey 17 this past weekend at the box office with Robert Pattinson. Sci-fi film about a guy who I guess is just a loser, down and out guy, wants to make some dough. So he's sent to a planet, and he's there basically as their guinea pig to try out all different things as far as the environment, or as far as getting illnesses, or dealing interacting with different alien beings or stuff like that. And he gets killed, but each time he gets killed, he gets his memories downloaded into a replica of
Oh, I
himself.
saw the trailers for that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So the thing is, it's based off a book, Mickey 7, that came out, I believe, earlier this century. I think about 20 years ago or whatnot. But yes, Bong Joon-ho has had an eye always on this adaptation, so he calls it Mickey 17 this time, because it's about Mickey 17 and Mickey 18 interacting with each other, even though they're not supposed to, or they'll both get killed. So it came out this past weekend. It's doing great in South Korea. That's not unexpected. But unfortunately, here in the States, Josh, uh, under $20 million in its first weekend. It's part comedy, but part dark comedy, part sci-fi, part drama. It's giving me a lot of, I don't know if you remember this from Terry Gilliam, a lot of Brazil vibes. If you're familiar with the movie Brazil from the early 80s, it has that type of feel to me. And it may end up being like that because it is not going to do financially in its theatrical run. Let's just be honest with you. It's not going to do well because it was a reported budget of about $120 million.
Right.
And it's one of those things, again, you're giving a very successful Academy Award winning director of a much smaller film the first chance to go ahead and say, what do you want to do next? Well, I want to do this. And not saying, maybe we shouldn't go that far. Maybe we should say, you know what, that's a little too much, or a little too different, or a little too out there, or a little too expensive. It's we've seen this before where an Academy Award winning director or a director that's really hot off of an indie film get that big splash, and it doesn't really splash, Josh.
That's weird to me because it looked really interesting.
The thing is, it looks different. It looks interesting, but does it look mass market appealing again? That's here we go right back to the mass audience. It does not look like to me as something that's going to appeal to a large audience. And at $120 million, it has to appeal to a
Yeah,
large audience, Josh.
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it I don't know. It feels like a lot of directors have that problem though. Like they don't know what to do after they make it big. They don't quite know what to do next.
I mean, that's gone into Hollywood, like Steven Spielberg. He went from a smaller films like Sugarland Express, I believe, before he did Jaws. Uh, George Lucas, went from THX to American Graffiti to essentially Star Wars. It has worked in the past where they start off with smaller projects and then immediately thought of in that context for getting something with a much larger scale, or in the case of George doing it himself or whatnot. But it's just we've seen it before where it's fallen flat.
Yeah.
I'm saying this one has the all the feels when we look back on it. I think 20 years from now, Josh, I think it's going to be one of those Brazil like moments, because I think it's going to end up being a cult classic. It's
Hmm.
going to be one of those ones that people are going to revisit down the line and think of it more respectfully and more favorably than they did at this point in time, because it's not a mass marketable film, but
Yeah.
eventually I think it'll find its audience, but it is going to take some time, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how often? All right. So, for example, here, all right, when we went to see Gundam Quux this past week, they showed a trailer for a movie called The Ballad of Wallace Island. And I'm sitting there in the theater. I'm like, oh, that looks really good. But does it look good enough to go back to to pay to go back to the movies to watch it on the big screen? Or is it something that I could be just as, if not more satisfied, sitting on my couch at home watching it? And a part of me is curious if this is what's happening with anything that is not, as we've talked about before, franchise based or Christopher Nolan or whatever, right? Like Mickey 117. If we were in an era before COVID, I feel like it would be interesting enough to get people to go see it in the theaters, and it would probably be making more money. I could be wrong about
And
that
that's
though.
No, you could be right, absolutely. But I just think it's going to take some time for it to find an audience out there. One of these days we got to sit down and talk about the state of theaters and movie going, and because of the fact that cost does come into it, COVID has come into it, and if it could ever get back into the where it was before. But again, that's something I think with a thing we're gonna have to talk about down the road. But yeah, I mean, Mickey 17 came out. It leads the box office for this weekend, but it here domestically, but it's not obviously a great performance since it's going to end up right around 19-20 million dollars. But if you have any thoughts, do you think Mickey 17 will be that movie down the line people be thinking of more favorably, like in like a cult movie, like a status like Brazil? I keep throwing out Brazil, but most of the movies that Blade Runner was a movie that did bad at the box office, but as I just watched last night on Netflix, which I've seen probably for the 100th time, it has resonated for years since. So what are your thoughts out there on Mickey 17? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, 1/2 hour down, 1/2 hour to go here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. Josh, did you want to weigh any more thoughts in on Mobile Suit Gundam? The movie that came out, a movie that hopefully will find more than just cult status as well.
Okay, so I have I do have some thoughts actually. All right, so first of all, let me just start out by saying if you are somebody who has been on the fence about getting into Gundam and if not had, you're like, oh, there's too much lore involved, or like I'm too far behind because 1979, when there is a long time, is what 46 years worth of lore to catch up on. So if you're somebody who has been in that boat, like this is the time to get into it because you know how we're always discussing the concept of do I remake versus reboot versus adding on to existing mythology? This movie takes all three of those things and does it like in a way that just to me feels flawless.
Nice. So there you
So
go.
what it does, okay, so I'm trying not to get into too much spoiler territory. So it starts off in episode 1 of the original, like it's reanimated, all that. So in the first episode of the original, you have the teenage Gundam pilot named Amuro Ray, who is, they're trying to escape the space colony as Zeon's attacking him, and he stumbles upon the Gundam, right? Fate led him to the Gundam, and he gets in the Gundam and ends up fighting, and that's how the thing starts. In the movie, Amuro Ray wasn't there, and the bad guy slash anti-hero Char ends up stealing the Gundam. So already the timelines become twisted. They go a little bit farther, and you find this thing where Char is trying to blow up this base, or this he's trying to so he has a grudge against the Xeon and the Earth Federation. But anyways, he's trying to use a bomb to blow up a space station, and all of a sudden there's like this flash of light, and he ends up staring into this whiteness, and you hear him go, I can see time, and all of a sudden he just disappears, right? And then it fast forwards, I want to say like 11 years or something, to this new kid, this little protagonist. Machu is her nickname. But anyways, the whole show is about like what happened to Char, where did he go? But so my theory is that this is they created a multiverse, much like it seems to be very popular these days. So they're using this movie to rewrite the past 46 years worth of Gundam to make it accessible to a new generation of kids, and but also respecting the lore of yesteryear, which I think is a very genius idea. So like I said, I'm not going to spoil too much. The show that follows, so this is called Mobile Suit Gundam Quux the Beginning. The show that follows us, that shows like the events that happened after the movie, Amazon actually bought the rights to it, so it's going to be premiere on Prime Video. The Japanese and English versions are both going to be premiering simultaneously. I want to say it was April 9th that they said. So this is going to be a good opportunity. If you get a chance, go watch the movie. But like I said, like this is much like we've talked about before with things like Star Wars and Alien and all that. Like, how do you keep this franchise relevant for the next, generation of kids, or for the next 20 years? Like this is the solution right here. And I highly encourage anybody to go watch this movie.
There you go. Couldn't get a better stamp of approval on that. Got to remember that for the best of 2025 when we do that later this year or early next year. So just saying. Just saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My friend, there's something you have a lot of thoughts on as well. And that's the first 2 episodes of Daredevil, which dropped on Disney Plus. I know that a lot of people are comparing and contrasting it to the Netflix Daredevil shows of the past. I'm not sure if you should. I understand it has obvious tie-ins to that, but I'm not sure you should. And it's not that, I don't know. It's not that they're going to Disneyfy it or anything like that. It's just that maybe you should treat it as its own entity as far as what happened on Netflix some years ago. Your thoughts on Daredevil after episodes 1 and 2 of Daredevil Born Again?
Okay, so episode 1 was, did you watch it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Episode 1 and episode 2, a complete tonal shift from each other.
Are you doing spoilers?
Should we do spoilers?
Why not? It's been a week. Go ahead.
Okay.
Spoilers.
So episode 1, episode 2, complete tonal shift from each other, right? So we have episode 1, opened with this like just weird, unexplainable, like how did these events even take place, right? With Foggy gets spoiler, Foggy dies. Karen is about to get shot. Anyways, how
How does
did
Bullseye?
how
How
did
did Bullseye
how
get
yeah
into it?
how did he go from being in the apartment of like Foggy's friend or whatever to shooting him on the street? Like there's just so many things that feel like they don't connect to each other very well. The
Mhm.
first episode though, let me tell you, man, like it felt like there was a lot. Actually, it was very choppy. Like it felt like they had taken a bunch of things that were not meant to go along with each other and just shoved them together. Like everything from the editing, like the cuts to the audio. Like, am I the only one that felt that? Like it felt very hastily made.
Well, you got to remember they did 6 or 7 episodes, and Kevin Feige saw what they were doing and said, "We're going to go ahead and completely change around." They changed the number of episodes, and they refilmed, or completely just obliterated whatever what was done before.
Yeah.
And you don't know how much was pieced in from before. Could they have kept some of it? Could they have gotten rid of it? We don't know. I thought one of the things that they were going to get changed, because I heard the rumor that Foggy was going to get killed in the original reboot of Daredevil Born Again. I thought that was one of the things they were going to change, but it ended up being in there. So I don't know exactly how bad or how different it could have looked. Maybe the aspect of Kingpin running for mayor of New York, maybe that aspect was changed and put in there. I don't know exactly what was pieced in and what was pieced out, but for what I saw, I see something compelling. But you're right. Wait, you're supposed to. It almost seems like you're supposed to know what happened 6 or 7 years ago with whatever happened on Netflix to understand what's going on with Bullseye, and just immediately popping up and as a threat initially early on. It just is, that's the part I'm kind of at a loss to as well, because the automatic assumption that you know who Bullseye is, or that you know Bullseye from the Netflix series,
And
and
why
that
is
you're
he still
supposed to
gunning
tie in.
for? Why is he still
Yeah,
going after them? Like that makes zero sense to me.
I mean, because it is supposed to be in a time frame where they already had the blip. The stuff that happened on Netflix before was before the blip and before the 5 years later and all that stuff. And what is taking place now is supposed to be after the 5 years later. Is that correct from what I'm understanding?
From what I understand, yeah.
Yeah. So all the, what was Bullseye just out, in the Bahamas somewhere for a few years, and then just decided to stop chilling and said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and try and blow away some people. I don't know. Again, it just, that part of it was not explained very well, but from the aspect of what they're doing besides the aspect of I guess the overarching theme of Kingpin and Daredevil, what they're doing as far as the grounded case that they're working on, the White Tiger.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly in love with that aspect either. It's kind of like kind of hastily put together as well.
Yeah.
And the reason why he becomes Daredevil once again, and because he gets his rage back and all that. But I'm staying with it. My daughters are liking it, and I guess I'll leave it at that. Josh, how about you?
Okay, so I mean I don't hate it. Like I said, episode 1 it wasn't so much the story that bothered me as much as the editing and like how sloppy it all felt. Like the audio
Mhm.
didn't sound like the soundtrack didn't sound like it belonged there. The Everything felt really out of place. Episode 2 kind of changed that a little bit, right? Like it put everything, the quality of the episode 2 versus episode 1 drastically increased.
Hmm.
I am now, I'm on board. Like I want to see the rest of the series. I want to see where it goes. I'm interested in the White Tiger bit. Wilson Fisk and Vanessa. I know something happened with her. They alluded to her having an affair while Wilson was gone. And then Matt in the end of the show, the episode, fighting those two detectives, and I was talking about this to my wife earlier today, and I was thinking to myself, like, what are they going to say? If assuming both of them are still alive, like, what are they going to say? Like why did he reveal himself? But also, like, is anyone going to believe them if they said, a blind guy kicked our butt?
It just, again, it's just a little hard. It's off to a little bit of a bumpy start, but
Yeah,
again, even if you watched 7 years ago the
but it's
shows
not.
on Netflix, it's
Yeah,
not piecing it together very well.
no, and it's not just that though. There's references to a lot of things. There's references to Echo, there's references to Hawkeye, there's references to things that happen in Defenders. Like, there's all these shows that they're assuming that you watch that aren't Daredevil. They're assuming you watch them and you know exactly what's going on, and that's not necessarily true for everybody, because we're this weird uh past few years, right, where Marvel has just made TV show after TV show after movie. Like, people are not caught up on everything. And now the fact that they feel like they're going to have to go back and watch all this stuff to understand what's going on in Daredevil is not a very helpful thing either, because uh, people don't have time to do that.
It's kind of, and like you said, but I'll tell you what. One thing though, I will say this: Kingpin, wherever you get that, whoever worked on your eye, man. If is it a fake eye? Is it a real eye? Because he got his face shot off, or part of his face shot off by Echo. I mean, you see the scars of the surgery there. What happened? Is that supposed to be a real eye, a prosthetic eye? You know, I don't know. It just kind of didn't. They kind of glossed over it too. It just kind of would have been great if you went into more detail. And then, of course, him and his wife. He has a conversation. Oh, you just left. You just left. That's great. You just left. You just
Yeah.
chilling somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. That does not explain things very well. And I understand we're nitpicking out there, but again, when it comes right down to it, the story and the gist of it, despite whatever case they're working on, the White Tiger case that seems pretty inconsequential to your overall story, it is, and it does, and it always will come down between Daredevil and the Kingpin. And I think that's still compelling, and that's still the reason I'm watching today, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm there's gonna be like, I really love the scene in the coffee shop between them, the two of them. Like, you tell
That was the best part of it.
they're like frenemies, right? Like, do they hate each other, or are they still enemies? Then you start to see them bite a little bit at each other. Um, they're the yin and yang to each other, and I think that that's awesome. But also, I don't think that they're going to go the route of Matt fighting the Kingpin again, because it's been done so many times. I think there's going to be uh this is going to be Vincent D'Onofrio truly evolving into the Kingpin, the guy who pulls all the strings to try to get people the how we see him in Spider-Man, right? He pulls the strings with all the vigilantes or not vigilantes, but all the bad guys to try to take out the vigilantes, and there's always a plan there. I think that's going to be him, because we already started to see that, right? As he was he pulled up the sub sandwich paper, and there had a picture of the guy's like love child uh
Mhm.
there sitting at the diner. So we're starting to see a little bit of finally see the comic book version of Kingpin come to life, and I'm loving it so far.
So there it is. It is our thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. It's been a rocky ride, but we're still hanging with it. Please let us know your thoughts. Are you still hanging with it? Because it is still out. It's just getting started. Looking forward to seeing how it's going to continue. For me, it's not grabbing me as some of the other series that are out there, but it's still with the Kingpin and Daredevil still kind of main forces, maybe butting heads. Later on, we'll go ahead and keep on checking out. But what are your thoughts out there on Daredevil Born Again? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, a couple more talk. Actually, three. I've got three for you before we head on out, my friend. Split Fiction. came out this past week, Electronic Arts. And it's funny because one of the best things about electronics each and every time that they do this, with all the stuff that they bring out over the course of the entire year or 2 or 3 or 4, is when they come out with smaller games. They seem to do a lot better when coming out with smaller approaching games, smaller games that really are hitting an audience. And this game is a co-op adventure, pitting two young ladies who get thrown together. And into, I guess, as far as from a publisher, it's in the set of the future, I think, as far as them getting stuck into a thing where they're booked together. Now, half of their fantasies, one from the sci-fi world and one from the fantasy world, they all combine together into one just fantastic adventure where they have to complete, depending on the level, a science fiction level or a dark fantasy level. Your thoughts, my friend, on Split Fiction? This is something, again, it could be, for what we're seeing so far, Metacritic has a 91. It's obviously one of the leading contenders so far early on for Game of the Year. But in a space in the video game industry where we've always talked about over the years about lack of this and that, we've always talked about lack of couch co-op or lack of adventures being one of them. And this development studio has always garnered itself on making great co-op adventures, and it looks like they've done the same thing here.
Yeah, it looks good. I haven't been, I haven't played it yet. I was at Target and Best Buy Target and Walmart and places this weekend. Saw it there. It looks good. It looks good. It's something that we definitely don't have a lot of couch co-op game and just co-op games in general anymore. So we definitely don't have things like that, and it's nice to see that is coming back. But yeah, I haven't played it, so I don't really have a lot to say about it. But I'm hoping to get to it one of these days.
Absolutely. Again, it is something where I guess, like I said, if you're really into a co-op adventure, but 10, 15 hours long, it looks like it may fit that bill for you. It's something that not many distributors, not many publishers, not many development houses really absolutely go and take into there. I think because it's not a big, huge, sprawling adventure, open world, or a game that's a multiplayer centric 20, 32 people, 64 people getting involved in it. This type of genre seems to be one that is very selective. And Split Fiction, it's Hazelight Studios. They do have a history already of some really fantastic games in the co-op genre. It just seems like, you know what? They know what they're doing. Joseph Ferris, he's the one that I believe that came out last year, the year before at the Game Awards, and let's just say very excitedly used the F word to great detail to describe his excitement, if you remember, during the Game Awards. But seeing how Hazelight Studios with Brothers, A Way Out, It Takes Two, one of them received a Game of the Year, was the Game of the Year at the Game Awards, back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So again, the pedigree is there. The pedigree is there, and for that, It Takes Two, you have the successor to this, and this looks like it's just about to be just as good.
Yeah, I hope so. We need this to be a year of bangers, man. And so far it's been that.
Yes, I am still on my way on Avowed. I'm about 12, 13 hours in. Just to give the Brank update for everybody out there. I know I have to be doing it tomorrow. Like, I have to report like a weekly thing. It's like we're back in class. What did you do this week in the world of video games? So yes, I've been getting into Avowed. I know Balatro hit Games Pass, and I know that I might be giving that a try as well. So a lot of good stuff. And then Kingdom
saw it there. I've been wanting to play it. I haven't had a chance.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I know a lot of people are still liking that. A lot of stuff came out. Monster Hunter Wilds. People have been going wild over that. Yeah, it's good to say that for first time in a long time, it's good to be back into video games. A lot of video games are coming out. It reminds me a lot of the old days where like last decade when video games used to come out like every month. You could count on it,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Split Fiction is out earning a lot of acclaim. How much acclaim will it earn? Will it be one of the best games of the year? Please let us know your thoughts if you are ready for a co-op adventure in Split Fiction, Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com. But a couple quick questions before we go. I'll leave Hulu's Paradise on the docket here last, but Neil Druckmann, who we both been angry with and praised for all of his work over the years with Naughty Dog. Shout out to Amy Hennig, who I guess is doing her own thing now with Captain America and Black Panther, and I guess the Hydra game that she's making. But you know how that went down at Naughty Dog so many years ago. But Neil Druckmann, who is heavily involved in The Last of Us season 2 on the HBO Max side, talked about recently and said the comments that the chances of a Last of Us 3 video game coming out are pretty slim. Your thoughts? Will there be a Last of Us 3? And should there be?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think at some point, I mean, if there's more story to it. So here's the thing: we look at what happened to Halo, right? Like we reached a point where there wasn't much story to tell, and they started to tell a story, and then they did not do such a great job with it. So with The Last of
Because
Us,
number 2 finished pretty definitively, if memory serves.
yeah. So that's what I was going to say. Like, how much story is there left to tell in that universe? It doesn't seem like there's that much.
At least for the characters, not the zombie fungus outbreak thing that was still there. But for the characters, their arcs seem to, in the case of a certain one that people are looking at, it ended pretty suddenly. But for the others, it ended. There was a character arc that finished. So we'll see how that goes. I know that on the TV side, they're spanning Last of Us 2 out over, I think, the course of 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think 3, but I think they are spanning it over the course of 2 seasons. So interesting how they're going to go ahead and play that out. But yeah, I think that maybe Max, if they really see the benefits of having this out there, might want to go ahead and ask for maybe a Last of Us 3. But even if that's the case, even when it started development today, we wouldn't see one till 2030 at the earliest. So, or maybe it's just all a facade. Maybe there is a Last of Us 3 on the way. So we'll see. But again, I'm not a huge fan of the game. I've played through it. I think the gameplay mechanics are pretty clunky. Got it kind of really. I stopped both times. I've not finished either version because it just really didn't keep me going because of the gameplay mechanics. But again, that's just a me thing. But I love the show. The show is absolutely fantastic, and I'm hoping that continues on as great success. But if it's basing itself majority off of the video games, there is a finite ending to it, Josh.
Yeah. So knowing that, is there enough for a Last of Us Part 3? I don't know. I mean, at that point, what it feels like the world has been mined already. Uncharted, there's always room to make more Uncharted games, right? Because there's always an adventure to be had. But yeah, The Last of Us was a very based on the events in the game were things that affected the entire world. So it's harder to just be like, oh, okay, let's just have another thing happen again, and we'll be fine. But yeah, I don't know.
Before we head it out, my friend, Hulu has a big success story, and it wasn't the Oscars that got cut off at the last part of it, but their big success has been Paradise, which has been storming up the streaming charts. A big shout out to Severance, which has been storming up the streaming charts as well. My favorite show right now. But Who's Paradise is a lot of people's favorite shows. Sterling K. Brown is leading this political thriller slash I don't know. I want to say it's like I don't want to say it delves in a little bit of science fiction-y stuff, but it's kind of interesting. It goes out there. Sterling K. Brown as a Secret Service agent uh, trying to protect James Marsden, and things go not always as planned. I'll just say that. Your thoughts on Hulu's Paradise? Is this something on your radar? Because again, it's been on a lot of people's radar. It is absolutely Hulu's most popular show right now and has really garnered some really, really great interest, if not a big success for Hulu and Disney Plus.
I have not actually. I've read about it though, and I'm intrigued by it. Since there's a lot of shows that have that like the science fiction vibes to it that I've been wanting to watch. Like there's the one on there's Severance. Yeah, there's one on there's another Apple one that had Sam Neill in it that I started watching. That I don't remember exactly without Outer Range, I think it was called or something like that. But
yes,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good sci-fi TV out there. I need to take the time to sit down and watch a lot of it.
Severance. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, even if you're out there, you want to catch even a little bit what Severance is like. The first episode is available for free on Amazon. But yeah, catching up season 1 to season 2, if you get a chance to check it out. That has broken records for Apple TV Plus. It is now more popular than the entirety of what was the most popular show on their outlet. 3 seasons of Ted Lasso. It's more popular than that, which is absolutely crazy. But Who's Paradise is achieving even more success to a broader base out there. So if you have thoughts on Hulu's Paradise, please let us know. PopCultureCosmos at yahoo.com. My friend, another great episode in the books. Any last thoughts on the world of collecting, video games, or pop culture from one of the Pop Culture Cosmos right here that we have? The best shows, the 90 shows. We're in the top 90 of pop culture shows on FeedSpot before we head on out.
None that I can think of, man. We've been doing this for a long time and we're getting recognized. I appreciate that we're getting recognized. But yeah, man.
The bribes worked.
The bribes work. We filled their pockets, and it's about time we're getting our just desserts.
Absolutely. Well, it'd be nice if we got it in the form of a printed out check, but commercial appeal, acclaim, critical thoughts, popularity, all that good stuff. It's always great and it's all good. We're just appreciative anybody listens and watches us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, indeed. But tell you what, Josh, it's been great having you on the show. Me, myself, also, thankfully, being part of the show as well for so many years. Glad we've been able to do this, and hopefully we'll continue to do so in the weeks and the months to come. Melinda did tell me she should be back in the mix here later this week. I'm looking forward to it. But you and I've got a Super BS Gamescast coming up this week as well.
Yes, yeah. Tune in tomorrow. You'll be able to catch it tomorrow. I think usually it's like 8:00 Central Time or 7:45 Central Time. So definitely tune in and check us out then, and jump in the chat's always crazy, so jump in and talk to you in the show.
Absolutely. That's the Super BS Gamescast on the Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media channels, and Super BS Gamescast wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, one of the top 90 pop culture podcasts that are out there, the Pop Culture Cosmos, indeed. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great